Hey guys. So, if you read the title to this, it's about what you should be thinking about with starting an agency in 2026 using GoHighlevel or Kajabi. And what I'm going to get into mostly is with GoHighlevel. Kajabi, both of these platforms are kind of similar. But a lot of us have been out there, whether you're on TikTok, Instagram, all these other platforms that are telling you about all this money that you're going to make selling AI and AI based products. What I'm going to give you is a real life review from a company owner who has gone down this exact same rabbit hole that you have. So I'll start this out with back in 2022, around this exact same time. So now we're 3 years in to our subscription with GoHighlevel. 2022, the AI revolution wasn't even really on us like that, right? It was just about automation, setting up triggers. You're going to be using, a lot of different platforms that already are tied in to GoHighlevel. Our agency started out as a web development agency, and all we really did for automotive shops and, you know, any other type of small business was to build them a WordPress based website that had all the features and functionalities that they needed for booking appointments and interacting with customers or placing their pricing, allowing people to check out and everything like that. Fast forward, and let me state that we started this agency in 2013, where web development prices were a little bit higher. You didn't have a lot of different platforms out there that were as easy to use for, new businesses. You either had to get on GoDaddy and try to use some, automated site builders, or you were on BigCommerce, Shopify, even, other platforms like that. And I mean, now if you're in this space, you understand that like things have changed so much that where we talk about AI outpacing workers, I mean, this is happening within our field today, right? So most of the services that you used to be able to call around for to sign customers up to, it was a whole lot easier. I mean, it did cost more, but people didn't have as many other options. Whereas nowadays, right, AI is really, taken over everything. And we're going to talk about specifically like agentic AI, which will build your website and build all the other things that you need. Like even in GoHighlevel now, there's so many different AI based automations already set up in there. You can tell it to just jump in there and create you a workflow. But the purpose of this of this episode of our podcast is to break down, is this really worth it for you, right? So you're either going to start out with the $99 a month plan, and that's going to be great for you, just single user, you really don't have any other clients or anything. You're using this, using GoHighlevel to reach out to your own exact customer base. And I'm going to say that's a great idea. Like GoHighlevel is a phenomenal tool, as is Kajabi. Like whether you want to run classes or just aggregating your own customers. I mean, that's if you're doing e-commerce or government contracting, anything else like that, you can build a plethora of things with GoHighlevel. At $99, if you've been out there in the dark, as far as automations go, well worth it. There's another plan that starts at $300. And that plan's pretty good too, right? But it's what you would use to start your agency. So $300, right? And that's before your domains and everything else like that. The other things that you're going to want to connect to this to reach out to your clients. But that's also going to allow you to sign up sub accounts. So now you'd have to build them all separately and, manage these accounts, without some of the other automations and rebilling that you're able to get if you had the actual $4.99 agency subscription for GoHighlevel. But what I really want to break down in this, right, is you see all the stuff about like, yes, I need to start an agency. I can sign $2,500 a month clients without needing to lift a finger after I get them signed up and just get them in there. They're going to use my tool and everything's going to be great. And that is a lie at the end of the day, right? Let's talk about it. Number one, maybe a small shop will be happy to give you a couple $100 a month, to stay on with that. And it's worth it. And it was the tit that fed us for the first few years up until about early 2025 when AI really started to dominate and all these other tools were out there and the pricing got a lot cheaper. Like you can get call agents for like $19 a month and then, secondary services and stuff. But when we went from before easily being able to sell $300 to $500 a month, it's changed a lot now. And then the consumer, value index for the exact same thing when they know so many other things are out there, right? And for you to be able to scale a business like this, you have to get, at least 50 clients, 100 clients, or something like that. And that's going to take outreach and everything else if you don't already have a customer basis. So, in giving our review, I'm going to go ahead and break it down like this. Our very first year was a lot of learning curve. You're going to have to, learn how to set up things like triggers and everything else like that. And as time has gone on, it has gotten a little bit easier. GoHighlevel has done really great at scaling the platform to make it easier for new business users and, people that have already been on the platform for a while. Like a lot of things that I started out doing that I had to sit around and learn. And I was, even jumped over onto Fiverr and GoHighlevel University, classes and jumping on schools, like spend a little bit of money trying to get scripts and things like that to speed up the process, especially if you're like trying to make funnel pages and things like that, like funnel pages that actually sell. But yeah, there was a good amount of time that we spent and money on learning how to get things set up. After that first year of getting through setup, onboarding a couple of, handful of clients, let's say maybe about 6 or 7 at a couple $100 a month and working through everything with them. We got our snapshots built out for the type of clients that we know that we want to go after, right? Because yeah, with GoHighlevel, you can service any type of client, but if you're going to try to make sales, resell licenses from your platform, you're going to have to be specific as to what genre of business owners you're going to be going after. If you're going after all real estate real estate agents and brokers and things like that, a lot of the snapshots that you'll be creating, some of them are already on there, but you would still have to perfect those, right? Because with GoHighlevel, if you're selling the service, you're really creating someone a customized dashboard, so it's based on what they want. So like I said, that set it and forget it, yeah. Because if you want to go that way, right, we're like, hey, I just want to sell the service and not have to do anything else. Well, then you're going to be paying another agency or someone else to set up all these things, deal with the customer service. And that sounds great, but still, at the end of the day, most of these clients, they want to know that the agency that they're calling is actually dealing with their information. And at some points, I mean, we really need to think about it, right? When you're dealing with another business's, contacts and outreach and everything like that, you're dealing with the lifeblood of that company. And people don't just trust that to anybody, so they really want to know that they're dealing with you, that agency owner who sold them and says that, hey, I've got you from, front to back, you're covered. You're in good hands over here. Your information won't be leaked and resold and given out to anybody else. Somebody else isn't going to hit you up and try to sell you some secondary services. So getting good customers, it takes a lot of trust, and it's going to take a little bit more infrastructure other than you just trying to live your life as a reseller and think that you're going to just quantify your $300 to $500 subscription into $60,000 a month. It's going to take a lot of selling, man. You're going to have a good source of leads and everything else like that. So after our first year, we hit the ground running. We had our dashboard set up, everything set up for our agency. We started out with $500 a month. So our first year, we spent $6,000 just for our GoHighlevel subscription, which, at the time, I mean, it seemed like a little bit steep because we still had hosting servers and stuff like that for our clients. But adding GoHighlevel was an upsell for us. where we were already selling hosting and, email management, things like that. But we needed something more because there's other companies that were coming in there and kind of like poaching our clients by offering them something else, another upsell service, that when they started looking at it, like, I'll save more by just, going with this company or sticking around over there. And we have had some clients, leave for a cheaper service or another service that they got amped about and then actually come back. So for us growing that first year with GoHighlevel was, man, it added like a ton of different tools, for us to be able to offer our clients, each at different price packages and stuff like that. Where I'll say for our voice and SMS services, before we were just using Twilio, and like that was great. Set all that up, got that integrated into our clients' businesses, and then as they needed more things, it just made way more sense for us just to go strictly with GoHighlevel. Um, but as the dawn of AI hit, right, GoHighlevel started growing, but so did the rest of the industry, where it turned out that everybody starts selling the exact same stuff and it becomes hard to differentiate, where they're deriving that service from or, anything like that. And is it worth it to you? And a lot of business owners at the end of the day, after experiencing imperfections or fighting the learning curve for themselves at knowing like what's going to work for their business, have ended up frustrated as well. So in closing out our very first year, I'd say we maybe didn't even break even. We made $3,000 for that first year at the services that we were selling for GoHighlevel, right? And we paired that with Stripe. And what was nice about that, right, about all the different things that you can tie in with GoHighlevel, us having Stripe tied in, right, and it being subscription based, we're able to take out loans, after that to kind of like keep us moving forward. So our second year, we pretty much just took out a loan from Stripe based on our very first year, and it covered our second year, and we paid that back incrementally, and we were able to grow. Um, so then we grew our second year into closing about like $15,000, $15,000 in subscribers. But then a change happened. More and more AI platforms started emerging. More places started offering these cut rate AI services. And then you start getting frustrated because you still have this subscription and you're still trying to sell to everyone else who's pretty much already heard about this groundbreaking tool that you have. And you had to keep changing your sales story. You had to pivot a little bit more and find out what your client base was going to need at the end of the day, so that you could keep selling them or to keep them on as subscribers. Because I mean, you can't imprison people into just subscribing to you. It's got to be a value-based option for them. So after year two, we kind of embraced the AI kick a little bit more, and we incorporated that into our marketing. And we started, getting other clients to come on board with us, but it would be extremely short term. We'd only keep them for like about a month or two, right? Because at the end of the day, everyone else is offering this exact same thing, all the way from maybe your client was hosted on GoDaddy. And so we got them for web management, web development, and everything else like that. And then GoDaddy starts marketing the exact same stuff to them because we've got to think about algorithms and everything else that's being used out there to acquire new clients for every single platform, right? And for you to understand that you are just one of millions. So if it's not just you locally or regionally or anything else like that, there is a million and one other services out there. And then you have the main parent service, which is just GoHighlevel or Kajabi or schools or any of these other platforms that are selling to you, pretty much like Amway, to have you go out there and go resell to even more people. And, then you start thinking about it like, man, I'm starting to drown. And that's what started to happen to us, as we kept developing and implementing more things, using all the other things that are still tied into GoHighlevel, it gets a little bit harder to gain more clients. So then you start saying that, okay, hey, let's pivot away from the affordable clients, right? That $99 a month, $300 a month, and let's go for the gusto. Let's go for some really big companies, that will be paying us the $2,500 like everybody else talks about, or $5,000 or $10,000. And, they tell you how you'll be able to scale that way and keep on growing. And yes, we closed a couple of those clients, right? But you have to think about this now, right? Now that when you're dealing with a larger corporation or something like that, the other thing that you start to experience is that now you're dealing with CFOs, accountants, and everything like that. Some of those companies don't want to just pay on a credit card based subscription. Now you have to physically invoice them. You're going to work at chasing them around for that too sometimes, so that you can get that ACH transfer or anything else like that. And that's just something that's really not explained to people, because at the end of the day, when you're watching these other sales pitches to you, the agency owner, about closing higher clients, take our class, learn more about this, and we can get you started closing big deals, right? Well, at the end of the day, those people want some money from you too. There's no free go high level, let's just teach you how to scale and blow up. At the end of the day, you're going to get sold something from everywhere. And then, let's just say that you decided to go, I'm going to sign up with one of these, agency growth gurus, right? They're going to handle your lead acquisition and everything else. And you start scratching your head and you're like, isn't that what GoHighlevel was doing? Like, I've got this tool that does all that great stuff for me. And then you try to tie in and use Avica data leads and, all these other type of tools. And then you just start learning that you've just been being sold a Swiss Army knife. That's great. It does everything that it's supposed to do. But to be able to resell that Swiss Army knife gets a whole lot harder, because other people are just selling you fodder. They're selling you leads that have been resold to like 500 other agencies, right? And everybody's working like the same groups. You're getting hit with spam limiters, and text messages are getting rejected. All this stuff, emails, text messages, all this other marketing you're paying for, and so you start to say that, like, well, how does this actually work? How do other people actually make this, having a subscription with GoHighlevel, in creating an agency, everything else that you're going to have to create around that? Because you're going to need other things. You're going to need to be a real company, like registered with your state, with an EIN that matches, like have your stuff together so that you can register phone numbers and everything else. It's not just, jump out there, sign up, and now we're off and running. You know what I mean? So you're going to have some time learning, especially if you just got enthused without any prior experience or anything like that. And if you're already a company who has been doing agency level services and you're just like, hey, I need to add on something else, it's still going to take some setup time and perfecting and like building out things, even though some stuff is already pre-built for you. And in saying that, one of the first tips that I would give to anybody planning to start their agency with GoHighlevel is, don't go for the gusto. Start out with the cheapest plan and build out exactly what you need for your agency, so that you get to learn how to use this platform and everything like that. Or team up with somebody. Like over the past year, and won't even lie about it, we've been using this also to gain clients. We just give away a free subscription. Back in the day, even when we first started using GoHighlevel, what the hustle was people would try to sell you a lifetime subscription to, Pipe Drive or whatever their rebranded version was, for $37, right? And they would just give you the lowest level of accessibility, right? But you're in there. You got to add all your contacts and everything else, which your administrator had access to everything. So if you didn't pay, they got a whole bunch of free leads. Like, that's the truth behind it. But yeah, $37 a year, you're like, man, can't beat that. Then you get in there, you start trying to use it, but the tutorials aren't there, or any tutorial that you watch was an upsell, and that's what you're going to experience throughout the entire ecosystem of SaaS services and software. People selling you, they're going to sell you the software first, sell you a roadmap, a plan, or whatever else. And at the end of the day, instead of you being a real entrepreneur, you're still just going to be a consumer for someone, paying somebody else's subscription, lined in with them, right? So then the question becomes, is like, how do I get there? How do I do that? And I'll even like be honest that a lot of the people that make money with Go High Level on a lower level are pretty much just, hey, got my subscription, I use it for me, and I make YouTube channels about how to do this, how to do that, and let people follow along, and they'll make their money that way. Because it takes some work. It's not a genie in a bottle, where you get this subscription and everything just works out for you. But there's a lot of benefits to it. Like I said before, if you're able to build a subscription base, or you have people that you're able to transfer over, and you're paired with Stripe, it is a lot easier to take out a business loan, for equipment or whatever else you need, right? Because you've been building history, track record, but then you're also going to have to put that work into keeping your customers, keeping your clients on board, and keeping things updated yourself. So with a lot of the other tools that are built in there, it does save you money. Like, you have a membership portal, right? You wouldn't need to be on schools or something else like that. Same thing like with Kajabi or anything. A lot of those other tools will save you as an owner, agency, a good amount of money. But like I said, is it worth it? What you're going to spend throughout the year. And then if you decide that you're done with that, right? Your time is worth money. If it took you 6 months, like really to set your agency up, or we're even going to go shorter than that. If it took you 90 days to set that up, you putting your time and effort and everything else into it, right? And then when you hit that breaking point where you're like, it's just not working. Well, that's money lost as well, right? Time lost, effort that you put into something, to scripts that you just don't own. So then what are your other options? Go rebuild the wheel, like go make your own Go High Level or something like that, or better strategizing and planning. And that's the purpose of this episode. It's just to tell you to, I know you might be excited right now, but take a step back. If you don't have a business plan, like, man, just write something out shortly. Figure out how much time you're going to invest into growing this agency, what type of tools you need, what you actually have for a customer base. Like, a lot of these tools are not going anywhere, because just like how they say, there's a sucker born every minute. It's kind of the same way in the SaaS industry, right? A lot of people will, as business owners, go out there, we sign up for stuff that we don't end up using, or it gets aged out. And then you're still sitting there at a loss. You might have paid a subscription for something for the past year that you just never used or never used properly. And then you finally click and you get out of that, right? And still it's money down the drain. So pause. I really hope that if you're like new to this entire industry, that you're watching this video, and that you'll take that very first tip and kind of make a rough draft business plan. And most people think that, like, hey, a business plan is just for, I need to get a loan and this and that. It's like, no, it needs to be a roadmap for you. I'd like kind of like knowing when to start, when to quit, when to make some changes, when to, like if you might need to pivot, or when you need further education or something like that, right? A lot of entrepreneurs come into this game either with work experience from doing something, or just an idea, or they've been self-taught. And they're like, hey, I'm going to sit back here, I'm going to learn, and I'm going to do this. And, no matter what your background is, you should have some sort of business plan. You should have a roadmap for yourself. So is it worth it with Go High Level? Yes. Finding affordable instruction based on where you're at, or finding community to learn and how to develop these things and stuff like that, that's something that's still growing. And yes, there's a ton of Go High Level communities out there. But at the end of the day, a lot of them are still trying to sell you something. They're going to sell you their snapshot, or they're going to tell you that they can scale your agency for you for $7,000. But nobody's going to do that after, like, yeah, hey, look, come on, let me scale this agency for you. Let's just make you all the money and you can pay us later on, because we know that what we're doing works so well. No, they generally want you to do something, either go into debt with them somehow. And if they do offer that for free, it's going to be by contract or something like that. So that after 90 days, if their system doesn't work for you, you're still on the hook with them via your company for like $7,000 or something. There's more than one way to skin a cat, and in this business, there's more than one way to make some money from a subscriber. And I'll even say that with like using the Yelp platform. A lot of people who tried to work in the same field, right, as entrepreneurs were signing up, and they were like reselling Yelp, going business to business, selling Yelp contracts, right? $50 a month, $600 a year. Business owners start seeing that they're not really getting traffic from Yelp like that. They want to cut the contract, which was just $50 a month, but Yelp comes back and sues you. They've got a claim against you for $600 a year for 2 years or 3 years, whatever that contract length was, right? And so now you're sitting there like, what the heck? Like, how'd this happen to me? Thankfully, GoHighlevel doesn't do anything like that. But what you would be out is all of your work if this doesn't work out for you. And at the same time, too, it's really easy to just find, the suckers who were born into buying GoHighlevel who weren't ready yet, who didn't have an agency, and who were just chugging along, investing their money into themselves and trying to give away the dashboard, everything that they could do to get users, on there and to get them spending. And especially if you were on, an agency level subscription. So that means you've got just some of everything, phone numbers cost you, like everything. It's a business, so pause and don't just think that, hey, I'll get this and this will be the answer to everything. Understand that with that subscription starting out, you're going to have some learning curve, and what you don't know, you're going to pay for. If you want better snapshots or funnel pages that convert and you can find somewhere to copy from, yeah, that's great, right? And then ClickFunnels is offering like the exact same type of thing, but you'd be cutting a subscription there. And at the end of the day, GoHighlevel users and resellers and stuff like that have, seen it. Hey, that's the number one thing. We can cut down on subscriptions by having just this one all-inclusive, one major subscription, and you'll be able to run everything from there. And that is nice to a point. And then we start reaching those points too, right? Where people are hitting hard times, where you have clients that are ending their subscription because, I mean, just look at our economy nowadays. It's harder to keep somebody on for $300, $500 when they're just like, oh man, it's just not working out for me. I'm not seeing bookings like that. Or we've been sending out tons of text messages and this and that, not getting other responses. They're just seeing more expense. And then you're sitting there still holding their hand, trying to be like, please don't leave me. I need you, you know? So there is more that comes to using a SaaS platform to grow your agency. I mean, you can really have an agency just off of, yes, I will build and repair a website and I will get you in Google My Business. I'll set up your ads and all that other kind of stuff, right? Which isn't going to cost you more than just basic web hosting for your own company page, as you go along. And then you would even say that, like, hey, if you get well versed in GoHighlevel, instead of taking on the brunt of that yourself, just sell it to your customer on an individual license and do a markup for them. Charge them $150 a month for that $99 plan and make $50 without the responsibility of you having greater debt for your own, company, right? Especially if you're just getting started with this. Like, come up with some other creative ways to, have your clients finance these things, as long as you have the knowledge to at how to set it up. Because like I said, after our first year, $6,000 and, only making about half of that back, and watching even more things just change, after that, more add-ons and everything else, more ways for you to reach out to customers and try to ask them, hey, would you be interested in this? And sometimes broaching that subject. We've had a few clients that were just like, oh yeah, hey, I was actually about to cancel next month. When we reached out to them for an upsell follow-up, they booked that appointment with us. And they're like, oh yeah, I'm going to use M1, which is another pretty much like Twilio based platform or something, where they can get the inbound call receptionists and everything. And like I said, it gets frustrating because when people are looking for solutions, they're going to just keep looking, until they find the one that actually works for them, or they give up, or they just create something on their own. But no matter what the case is, when you're dealing with other business owners, right? And that's what your business is when you're running an agency, you're business to business, and somebody has to make sound financial decisions. No one's just going to wait around for you to get the work done or anything like that. They want these dashboards that you've sold them set up ASAP. So it is going to take, if you're going to be doing something like that, for you to have a collection of snapshots, or that you've developed what you need, and then that's just strictly what you're going door to door and selling everybody, right? But you're going to show up to every salon in your town, and 90% of them are already going to be on something. They're going to be using something, whether they're even just using Square. Like, why would I pay you $100 a month for scheduling, or $27 a month for scheduling, when I can get that with Square for free? So do your research before starting up an agency and buying into someone else's Amway-like, platform that, yeah, you've got all their stuff, you're reselling it, and they're getting the exact same experience from somewhere else. They're essentially paying your agency for the customer service, for you to troubleshoot, set up all the stuff, and it seems great. But in this day and age, it has gotten a lot harder to actually just run that way, right? You need some sort of skill set, some skill basis, whether it is server management, web development, or ad campaign development or something like that. And then selling one of these other agency platform tools secondarily to that. And to be honest, that is what's kept Optimus 5 alive. It's mostly our IT support and web development, things like that. We made a smart choice to buy WHMCS lifetime license like years ago, and it was like $350. And we implement that a lot. And that's something else that I would say too, that when you can find certain platforms that are offering lifetime licenses or a longer term use or something like that, so that you can get past the learning curve, it's going to be extremely valuable to you. Do we regret building with GoHighlevel? No. It has been a great platform and we've learned a lot from it, but keeping clients, gaining new clients has gotten a lot harder, and then even if we were to say, let's cut the cord now, let's go to some other company that's going to be cheaper or whatever else like that, man, well, it'd be a disservice to us, and that would be like if we were building with ClickFunnels first for the first 5-6 years, right? ClickFunnels used to be it. And then when you switch over to Kajabi or GoHighlevel or something like that, and you leave all that old work behind, if it wasn't transferable at the time that you got registered, now you can transfer a lot of different things over and use old workflows that you set up somewhere else. But yeah, it is worth the investment, but put some research into it. Don't just click that subscribe or anything else like that. Find some places where you can get the cheapest plan, even if it's secondary or something like that, so that you can get through the learning curve. Because yes, it does require that hands-on knowledge. That's why I said, even though you're going to start an agency, start out with the lowest plan and get yourself set up first. And then once you're able to start signing, we'll just say 3 clients, and that's going to feed that subscription for you, then go that way. Follow along with all the other tutorials and stuff like that. Put a lot less trust into agency building courses, right? Well, few of the things that they're going to be trying to teach you how to do is how to write ads, and then you still got to fund those ads, so now you got a $500 subscription for your agency, plus you're going to need to spend at least another $500 a month based on that. If you've written ads before and stuff, like, there's more learning curve and stuff like that goes with it. You're in a heavy competitor, field for running an agency. So yeah, take your time with this. You can do it. Lots of other people have done it, right? And that's like one of those things that I tell a lot of my other clients. It's just like, you see a successful tire shop and you're servicing a new tire shop. So you say, hey, we know the tire shops work. People need them, everything else like that. If you're not at saturation, your town's not at saturation point, what's making these other ones more successful? And then let's see what we can work to help emulate that and help you get your market share. Well, you're going to have to think the exact same way with services and software. What's it going to take for you to get your market share, to reach your core demographic? And all of that stuff you need to start writing out before you just go out and grab a subscription to some platform. Um, Now, out of recommendations, I am going to recommend that you use GoHighlevel, but at your own risk. Like, figure out how you're going to actually make this scalable and work for you. Don't wait until you're $18,000 in and then you're reaching out to the gurus and like, hey, help me. Like, what else can we do? You know, because everyone in this game is out there still to take some money off you, right? If you're following their TikTok channel, it's going to be an upsell. Whether you're trying to do credit repair or anything like that, right? Everybody's got something that they're charging for, and you don't know how much they paid for it. You know, so that's like the same thing. You know, our dream is to pay $500 a month and make $60,000 a month by growing and stacking customers. And how do you keep outreaching, and how much are you going to stay on the phone? How much pavement can you conquer, within your town? um, and is this service, the service that you're offering, going to be valuable to other people? So I hope that you watch this, and I hope you got a little bit of food for thought. Yep, we're still working, still growing with GoHighlevel, but it has not been just the instant dream come true, because as stuff changes, as automation takes place and everything else, and I'll even say this one too. We've had a client leave and just go directly to GoHighlevel. There's still tails in there. If you're not on an agency plan or something like that, that is going to show people like, oh, let's go high level. And then it's like, what? I can get this, all these other things for like way less. And then there goes your $2,500 a month client, you know. But like with web development and like web hosting, most people won't leave once they've also put in a lot of time and investment to something that is working for them. You can get upset that your GoDaddy hosting, you might have been hosting with GoDaddy for like the past 10 years. That price has risen tons of different times. And somebody else has come along, like Hostinger or HostGator, and they've been like a whole lot cheaper. It's $3 a month over here. But then you're like, man, I've already set up all this stuff, the emails, everything else. You've connected to Cloudflare. And if you didn't do all this work, you paid somebody else to do all this stuff, and you don't want to go back and go repeat that. And that was like the hosting jail. That's what used to keep the hosting market alive, because that's what we started out with. And we used to make maybe a couple $1,000s a month just hosting websites. And then the price got driven down more, and server costs went up and things like that. We stopped using co-location to try to cut down on prices for that. But like now you can host a website literally for free. But if you're like really about your business, you're probably going to spend, we'll just say at the very least, $120 a year, whereas before that used to cost a whole lot more, and you used to be able to play more in the game. So AI and everything else, and even platforms like GoHighlevel, have been changing that game. And that's what everybody's out there to do. It's the world dominance, get your market share, like Google or something like that. Google handles a lot of the internet traffic. If you're watching this video, you're on a Google platform, and they're getting a taste of our traffic. Otherwise, we could have just hosted this video directly from our own site, but we'd already have to have the traffic. Google has millions, so I guess take this as a warning and a little bit of information, as something to think about from a person, with experience in running this agency, based off of GoHighlevel, WordPress, and, all these other popular platforms that you've been used to. 2013, you would have been a genius with all these type of tools. And like now you're just one of many. You're, part of the other army that's selling and adding to someone else's infrastructure. And sometimes, you got to join them if you can't beat them, or if you can't outbuild them. That's kind of like what we did. Optimus 5 started out at trying to build an all-in-one dashboard and everything like that for our clients to use. And when we discovered GoHighlevel, for ourselves, and we're like, oh man, that's it. And speaking from experience as well, right? Been through a lot of different courses and classes as a business owner, trying to learn and gain experience from other places, right? And you're going to keep on getting resold. I think the person that learned the most from is Billy Jean is marketing. Great guy, great courses, based out of San Diego. If you can find his stuff, wait around because he does sell like a full on year's package for like $5. You can get all of his teachings that he's gone through and re-promoted and, things like that though. But at the end of the day, that's what he's really pushing is the tools and influence for other marketers, and to be honest, that's where we learned about Go High Level from, interacting with his platform, and we found one of the tails. And this is after he had switched over from using Kajabi. So a lot of other gurus and stuff like that, pay attention to the platforms that they're using, because sometimes that's just where the answer's at, with how to mass market and reach people. But I'm going to kind of keep this short and sweet. You can find us at https optimus5.co. Hit us up in the chat widget if you've got any questions or anything like that, or if you want to see what the platform is like. You can come on, join with us. We'll sponsor you for like 2 months or something. Not even going to upsell you, because we're thinking about making some pivotal changes, and being that we've also, been making more with IT service desk support and stuff like that. And that's what we use our dashboard for now. Like, we don't even push it as much to our end clients. We're just using it to actually make money versus just reselling it. So we scaled down and all that other good stuff. We still have our few clients that are on there with us and stuff, but to keep looking and keep wasting money, keep wasting $500-600 a month on ads, where the cost per click keeps rising and everything like that, just has not been worth it. So, yeah, put some greater thought into starting your agency with Go High Level. All right, signing off from here. Thanks. Bye.